Welcome to Ask Southern. My name is Aaron Myers. I'm the production manager at Southern's manufacturing hub in Kinston, North Carolina. I lead our production team. The purpose of these Ask Southern informational videos is to show you some of the installation techniques that I use. There may be several different ways that you install Southern's products, and if after seeing this video you have any comments or questions, or you would like to share your favorite methods, we would love to hear from you. Our contact information should be at the bottom of the screen. And now, here's today's Ask Southern topic. We got a phone call from a contractor in Virginia, and his question was, how do I attach my port rail system to a round column when I have a base piece? This here is a typical round column. This is wood. They make them in wood and fiberglass. This is a very typical base piece for a round column, and there are a few things that we can do to accommodate them. First of all, I want to show you our round column adapters. They're typically for an 8-inch, but they'll work for an 8, 10, or 12-inch radius. They basically sit over the column, and the bracket can then be attached to give you a nice clean look around a round column. We have a few different styles for our most common port rail, or T-rail, and our 2x3.5. We also have them in almond. This one's taller to accommodate a step rail bracket. And then we do have other styles that'll work with some other brackets. This particular style works well for an angle wizard bracket, and these are customizable round column adapters. We make them here at the plant to fit some of the other brackets that you may use on your port rail system. If you happen to see the video about our port rail installation, you'll know that we start with our bottom brackets first. Here on a round column, we've got a base that's approximately 4 inches tall, about a 2-inch square plinth with a 2-inch ring, and that presents a problem with our bottom rail bracket. When you install that, we would exceed 4 inches, which I don't know a part of the country that would allow that. Most cases you need 2 to 3.5 inches under your bottom rail, depending on your local code. So we've got an issue here, and we need to get around it. What I like to do typically is trim this piece of the ring away, actually remove this material so that your rail can sit down in there, and I've already done that. I'm going to spin it around here and show you how we center our rail. We remove the portion of the ring, and our typical bottom rail, which is a 2x3.5, will set right in there. At this point, depending on your application, one thing you could do is leave this just as it is. Once the pickets are installed, the top rail is on, and the system is complete, this cannot move back and forth laterally. It will not be able to lift out of here. Most times the painter will have to caulk this area. They can caulk right up and around the bracket. You've got a nice clean look. They paint the column and you're done. An alternative to this, if you're not entirely comfortable without attaching this rail to the columns somehow or in some fashion, is we can take our typical bracket and our typical round column adapter, and we can trim them to accommodate this. And all we would do is get some measurements or scribe some lines. We'll trim this out. Okay, and now you can still attach using screws through the screw hole, and you can still get the locking screw with the snap cover through the bracket. This will have to be caulked still, unless you really took the time to scribe and make this bracket match the profile of the ring. But this is another way to get around this scenario without a lot of effort. Now, if you were doing a one-story application, I believe that this application right here with no brackets absolutely suffices. But I would highly recommend, if you're going on a second or third story application, that you get the round column adapters and actually trim trim your bracket and your adapters. That way you're getting a mechanical fastener into the rail and into the column. A lot of times the porch rail installer gets to the job and the column's already installed. This can be cut with a rotozip, or there's a variety of saws or knives that can be used to cut it. If you're fortunate enough to be installing the columns while you're doing the porch rail, it's best to be able to cut this piece prior to installation. It's just so much easier. A third method to be able to get your bottom rail bracket on here, and of course this is prior to installing the column and the ring, is you can actually separate this trim piece. You can actually cut right along here, separate the ring from the plinth, and you can actually just get the plinth out of there. Now you've got basically a ring which suffices as a trim for your post. It's 2 inches tall, and you put that down as your trim ring, and then you can go back and you can use a full column adapter and a full bracket right on top of the trim. And that's a third scenario, another way to get around the round column and the trim. Now that we've got past our bottom rail application, you'd build your porch rail panel just like we explained in our porch rail video, and you'd move on to your top rail application. I'll show you how to install one of these real quick, just so you see. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're working with a fiberglass column or wood, you should always pre-drill your holes. Even though the brackets come with self-drilling screws, the fiberglass has a tendency to splinter if you don't have a pre-drilled hole, a pilot hole. So we're going to get our drill bit on here, and we're just going to pretend that we have this at the correct height. But it gets a little tricky because you're trying to hold two pieces up there. But if you get your bracket up there where you want it, and you can come in and pre-drill a hole. Excuse me. You want to make sure that your hole goes straight into the column, not at an angle. We'll load a screw in here. It's best, I find it's best to go ahead and get one started, and that way it frees up the hand to be able to go. And if I had the top rail in here, it'd be a little easier. Now that we have one screw in, we freed up some hands. We can go back, pre-drill the rest of our holes. Well, and there we have our bracket mounted on our column with our round column adapters. Provides a real nice clean look. As you may have seen in our porch rail video, we typically cut our bottom and our top rails at the same time, the same measurement. But one thing to keep in mind is when working on a tapered column, there may be different measurements there. Typically there's enough room in your bracket for play. And if you're uncomfortable with that, you may just want to measure your bottom rail and the distance for your top rail independently. I hope we answered all your questions about round column adapters. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us at svmllc.com.